live, so I hope soon it's gonna. What's up,
Boom.
YouTube world? It's your boy Nightmare 10 once again, but no, it's not just me. Hit it, boys!
Hit it, boys! Hit it!
Wow, man. He
Hit my
probably
music.
practiced that in the mirror for so
I don't
long.
practice. I don't have to practice. That's how great I am.
Damn.
Hit it,
You had,
boys!
you had one shot, Phil. You had one shot.
I did.
But we are back. This is at 310, Nightmare Baller 1, Nightmare 10. Just bringing it back to old times. Bringing back a quick
Oh my God!
YouTube take.
I'm doing the Rock goosebumps
The
right now.
goosebumps.
I'm not even lying, bro. I am, bro.
It's a fun time.
Man,
you know, we got the college
crazy.
football playoffs coming up. We got the NFL wildcard round coming up. We just wanted to do some quick college football thoughts, give some thoughts in the wildcard round. We'll let Phil do a little rant on the Patriots that he will probably just sit in the corner until like enough time has passed in which we cut him off. And
That's pretty.
but
true.
yeah, no, we're happy to be back because college football was a fun time this year. We're going to go through all our individual teams. I'll start with some quick thoughts on the Canes, and then I'll hand it over to them if they want to comment on the Canes, or if Phil wants to comment on his South Carolina Gamecocks, his Coastal Carolina team, and Markeem, of course, will do his usual burial of Virginia Tech. I'm sure that became a consistent.
Before you
theme on
go,
this podcast.
kids, though, I just want to say before you even get started with the Canes,
Mhm.
Cam Ward should have been the second place vote for the Heisman, and Ashton Jeanty should have been number 1. That's all I'm gonna say. Go ahead.
But he doesn't play anybody, Markeem.
Please. He had 200 yards against Oregon and 3 touchdowns.
His worst game was the game they just lost, and he still went over 100 yards.
But he had 30 carries.
It's so sad because I mean, for people, before I talk about the Canes, for people out there who wonder why like brand matters and like why marketing matters, Travis Hunter doing that on Deion Sanders' college football team is why it got so much attention. Like if someone on Baylor did that, no one would have cared. But it's Colorado. He was a 5-star recruit. And so we gave it more attention than we would have if a similar player did that on another team that only won 9 games. You know, it's not like they were like lighting the world on fire. They couldn't even make the Big Ten title game. But that's life, and it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
So on the Canes, it was almost like comically exactly what the Mario critics said it would be. We joked in our Canes group chat before the season started that this will probably be a 12-0 team that actually goes 10-2. And almost to a fault, that's almost exactly what happened. Blowing 2 games they should not have won, but obviously counterbalanced by the fact that there were a lot of games they got away with that they shouldn't have won in the first place.
Should have lost, you meant. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That they were winning.
Oh my God! Let it go! Let it go!
No, that wasn't actually a jab. No, he said 1 first, so I was correcting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't a jab, I promise.
You see, Phil still thinks that was a Hail Mary in the Virginia Tech game when it was
It
not.
was.
And we are punished.
We're not doing it. We're not doing it.
The ref on the field made a stupid fucking call, and because of that, it seems like it's controversial. It shouldn't be controversial. He should have just ruled it incomplete.
I agree.
Now listen to this guy. So
I agree. Go ahead.
The team was on offense exactly what you could have hoped for. It was obviously Heisman caliber, as we've talked about. Like Dylan Gabriel getting votes ahead of Cam was ridiculous. Like he's not better in any production metric. He only got more votes because his team lost less games because the Canes defense was worse than Oregon's defense and blew 2 games. Like it's not fair. Like it's completely illogical. But Cam was awesome. It was a highlight. It was fun to watch this team score so much every week. But the problem was before the season started, the hope was the defense would be okay and the offense would be excellent. And that was kind of the path to how this could be a contending team, maybe in the Final Four of the college football playoff. But the first 4 weeks of the season, you know, you're playing the Gators when Graham Mertz was still the quarterback before DJ Lagway got in there. And then they played Ball State and USF and FAMU. So you didn't really have an opportunity to see the defense actually get tested. And I'll never, ever forget Markeem telling me after that Virginia Tech game, like, kid, I think this defense is trash. And I'm like, well, look, it's just one game. It's one ACC game. Like, they have the rest of the season. You're allowed to have a bad night. And he was adamant, like, no. Drone sucks. My team is not capable of being this good offensively. There's something structurally wrong with the Canes defense. And sure enough, that bore out the rest of the season as the defense was getting shredded week after week after week. It was a surprise. They were supposed to have one of the hypes in the offseason was that they were going to have one of the best D-lines in the country. Like Ruben Bain was a freshman All-American, and he was entering his sophomore year. They got Tyler Barron as a transfer from Tennessee. They had Akeem Mesidor come back, who missed the 2023 season, but in 2022 was really, really good. They had Ahmad Moten was supposed to come on and play a big role. They had a lot of names. They had a lot of like guys that had good reputations from other schools or locally coming in. And that is
and
my
a
biggest.
lot of these guys are going to be drafted high too. That's kind of crazy.
and unfortunately, as the season went on, the D-line kind of started to wear down. And Tyler Barron, for example, from Tennessee, like the first month of the season, he looked like a terror. He looked like it was going to be like Jalen Phillips all over again. This guy's going to come in as a transfer and get drafted in the top 10 of the NFL draft. He was destroying those bad offenses that I listed earlier in the segment. But as the season wore along, his play time got less and less and less. He was getting less sacks, less tackles for loss, to the point that by the end of the year, there was one game where he only played 2 snaps. And, you know, they when they weren't getting – because the D-line wasn't – like the Canes fans knew the secondary was a problem going into the season. We all knew that. But the logic was the D-line would be so dominant that we can cover that up a bit. When the D-line was just average instead of dominant, then it exposed the bad safeties that we have. It exposed Jadaeus Richard being very limited as an out boundary and slot corner before he got hurt and was out for the year. And the Canes' best cornerback ended up being OJ Frederick. He's a true freshman. He's excellent. He played more and more as the season went along. He's going to be drafted one day pretty highly. But the problem was he's a true freshman and he's small. So in that Syracuse game, he was just getting.
They picked him apart. They went straight at him. Yeah.
And they had those Syracuse receivers are all like 6'1", 6'2", and they all had big size advantages on him. And he's a freshman. You know, he still doesn't know how to play within his limitations as much. And he's our best corner. So if he's getting toasted, the other guys had no chance. And yeah, I think the D-line, that's my biggest disappointment, that the D-line wasn't strong enough in the second half of the season to hide the defense from being exposed. And it's a shame because you only get Cam Ward once. You know, you don't get Cam Ward every year. And we knew that. We knew that we had to maximize that.
A senior?
And
I mean, obviously he's coming out, but he is a senior though. So he
Man, could you imagine if this team would have made the playoff? Like we would be talking about that season Cam Ward had as one of the greatest in history. Because
just look at his stats.
I don't think people realize like how efficient that dude. Like the first, like I would say maybe 7 games, kid. Yeah. It was like he was having historic numbers, like on par with guys like Burrow and motherfucking Newton and even Danny Warfield, Chris Winkie, like those guys. Like his numbers were crazy. The yards per attempt was his story. Like he was second all time in yards per attempt until like the last few games. It was wild, bro. He was different. It
was fun. It was fun to watch. And you know, as a fan, before they got that second loss, you know, obviously the first we're going to get to the semifinal games, but the first 2 seeds are already out. Like you knew at the time that the top 5 was kind of flawed. Like especially the teams that the Canes were being compared to at the time. It was Penn State, it was Alabama, which obviously was wrong, but they were ranked high for most of the year until they started losing. And then Georgia, we knew was taking on losses. Like you really could talk yourself into, yeah, the defense is flawed, but they have a consistent, dominant offense, and no other team can say that. And maybe that can take you pretty far. But unfortunately, the defense was bad enough that you never got the chance.
We would have never found out. We never found out.
And so you kind of leave the season being thankful. I mean, it was fun. Like he was awesome. He's going to go down as a Canes legend forever. But you do also kind of leave the season wondering, you know, is it ever going to get that good again under Mario? Because the defense should improve. It can't get much worse, but the offense is going to get worse. And I don't know what that final product ends up being, especially as Clemson, for all their problems, they're bringing all those guys back. Like they had a younger team. They're going to be that finish to the season, I think, is going to propel them into next year. Now you have Belichick coaching UNC. Like Rhett Lashley's taking all the Canes players to SMU. There's a Canes.
Really?
Yeah, there's wow. Oh yeah, Phil, like Brashard Smith was a Cane for years. Brashard Smith was a Cane last year. And he's like SMU's leading rusher. Yeah. That whole team.
It's wild, bro. The transfer portal is.
I love it and I hate it, and we'll talk about that.
Yes. The last thing I'll say on this, like Jared Harrison-Hunty was like one of our star defensive tackles 2 years ago. He was a 5th-year senior. He was supposed to be our starting defensive tackle this year. He transferred to SMU. He's a defensive player. Like, well, why does he have loyalty to Rhett Lashley? But somehow he did. And so yeah, you also throw in Belichick getting to UNC, and like the schedule's getting harder. Like it is a concern. The Canes next year play Notre Dame, and they play Florida again in Miami. Not that worried, but they were a better team with Lagway. They did get some momentum as the year ended. It won't be as easy as it was this past year, even though that game was in the swamp. So Yeah, I kind of don't know. I kind of don't know what happens next, but I'm thankful. I'm just sad the defense was that bad.
I wish. Oh, go ahead, Phil.
No,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go. You say your thing first, because
no, go ahead, Phil. Go ahead.
I'm making a prediction, but I want you to go ahead.
Go ahead.
All right. So this sticks with ACC. You mentioned Belichick, and the prediction will come in a minute.
We can't spend too much time with Belichick.
I know. I'm not. I'm just saying. Quick question: what do you think he's going to do? Like, quick thoughts on what you think he's going to do. I actually have a bet on this with a friend that thinks he's not going to do it. I think he wins the ACC within 3 years.
Listen. Hey, hold on. Okay, all right. Real quick.
Okay, quick.
Real quick.
Just time. Yeah, I think we're good. 11 minutes. We're good. We're okay.
Phil, I'm giving it 2. I'm dead serious. I'm giving it 2.
Yeah.
I think this year they will be a lot better. And then
what did they finish?
5 and 7. 5 and 7, I think. I mean,
yeah.
That's like Brady to the Bucks. I mean,
and then next year, right?
I was making your argument, but okay.
Yeah.
When all these guys see that he can win and he knows what he's doing, the transfer portal makes it so much easier to build this shit up. Oh. And then, like, in 5 years, it might get annoying around here. We might be just as annoying as we were before.
People talk about the NFL record. Man. What if he just wins 3 natties and comes back and breaks the record? But comes back. He can coach till whenever he doesn't want to anymore.
Yeah, and what's interesting also is that UNC, that's a heavy educated alumni base. There's good money in that alumni pool. Obviously, for the basketball team, that's very relevant. But you could maybe pull some of that money more towards the football side if the success starts to build from there.
Bill could. If anybody could pull it from a basketball school, don't you think it could be Bill?
Yeah, especially when that basketball program isn't what it used to be. Especially, you know what I mean? So, I'm excited.
Also,
and I'm dreading it.
All right, last thing. Also, I will say, people forget, and I actually watch, obviously, a lot of certain people, but Pat McAfee show, this guy, and I'm going to butcher his name, I can't remember, but he brought somebody with him that used to work with the Patriots. He always talked on the Pat McAfee show. I can't remember his name. Lombardi. Yeah, Lombardi. Yeah. And I think that's a sleeper pick as far as bringing him in to help him on the GM side of it. I think people are sleeping on that a little bit.
It'll be fun to watch.
Maybe not
year one. But yeah, year one is going to be hard to predict, like, because obviously there's just, like.
And I don't know their schedule. I don't know their schedule either. I haven't looked at it.
Well, nobody. It's an ACC schedule. Yeah.
They've announced it, haven't they?
Yeah, but we don't know the order of the games. We don't know when the bye week is.
Right. Yeah.
Like,
okay.
All that stuff matters.
Okay.
In college, especially, that stuff. That stuff matters. Like
that 100% matters. Yeah. 100% matters. Yeah.
All right. Go ahead. Your turn.
That's a good segue to Phil.
Phil.
Yeah.
Why does schedule matter?
Okay. All right. So can I'm going to start off with this, okay? And then I'll get to praising. I have to first say, hey, everybody in South Carolina, what's up? SEC fans, Gamecock fans, just a couple words to you. Shut up! Shut the hell up about your damn SEC! SEC! I'm talking to you, Cody, my cousin. Yeah, I'm calling people out in this show. I am done with that. He ain't watching it, but it's okay because, I'm not the SEC, so why would he watch me? All right, anyways. I'm sad. Y'all don't even. All right, can I just tell a little? All right, I'm gonna tell a little bit. Cut me off if you need to. I got to tell a little bit of the backstory behind that. I live in a family, and Markeem vouch for me. I think I don't know if his family's like that, but I live in a family with mixed Gamecock, mixed Clemson fans, which I think comes everywhere. Maybe I don't know what the Miami equivalent to that would be. I guess Florida State, but
Florida State, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I'm just kind of relating that to everybody, but no. So like, let me tell you. I started early YouTube take days. I probably was more of a SEC like pusher or not Mark, but But these mother effers, bro. Let me tell you how bad it was. First of all, I became a Michigan fan for 5 years or 3 years, I think, or 2 years, because I said, "F it, man. I cannot deal with this shit. I don't want to be attached to the Gamecocks." And I still watch the Gamecocks. They sucked, luckily, during that time. But still. I'm rambling, but here's the point: is the SEC is not the be all end all. Jesus Christ, coming of the Lord of college football, man. Like it is the top conference. I think this year.
No, it's
Big Ten.
No, it's not.
Well, okay, all right.
No, it's not.
All right, it is one of the top conferences. Is what I meant to say.
Sure.
Correct. Thank you for correcting me. I think this year is the best of the Big Ten. I said that at the family thing, and I got crickets. I sat there and watched Texas go up 17-0. and my cousin walked out to go home and was like, to go home or whatever, and thought the game was done. I almost text that mofo, but guess what? His team ain't Texas. Why I gotta text somebody and be like, how about them Arizona State Sun Devils? He would be like, who won the game? So anyway, all right, sorry.
They're not even a real SEC team, but keep going, Phil.
Yes.
South Carolina?
No, Texas. Texas.
But go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, the winner of the national championship is the highest one for the SEC is a Big 12 team. Thank you, Marquine, for adding that in there. All right, anyway, so South Carolina. That rant could have been a little bit better, but it's okay. I got it out. South Carolina, look, man, greatest season it's been in a long time. I would say I'm more hyped, and was so much so beginning of the season, Philip, about the Gamecocks, and ending season about the Gamecocks. You know this. You didn't. I was like, I don't own them. They're not my team. Like, I mean, I like them, but like, they're just kind of on in the background.
Yeah, you was like, I'm gonna watch Coastal. I don't really.
Yeah, Coastal's my team, and it kind of switched, and we'll get to the Coastal part and why it kind of switched as far as like, I mean, there was nothing to watch at Coastal, but anyways, this year, and I'll get to that. But South Carolina, like, I mean, they did Sellers. I fell in love with Sellers, Rocket Sanders. If I can remember names on your team, that's all you need to know. Nick Harper. I'm just saying. Nick Harper I love Nick Harper. I'm just saying, name a game. Spencer Rattler. Okay, I mean, okay, he's all right. I mean, we beat Clemson with him, but no, I mean, Sellers is amazing. I love Beamer. I'm all in on Beamer. Like, I think Beamer's going to be. You can make a case he already is, but I guess there's not yet the best coach South Carolina may have already had.
Hold on, Phil.
He didn't make it SEC title game, but
man. Wouldn't it have been so much easier for my team if we would have just hired the son of the greatest coach? Well, I don't want to go ahead. It's coming. It's a storm.
It's coming.
Okay. Yeah, because I want to know. I want to know why they didn't hire him. So yeah,
he'll get there. Finish on Gamecocks.
But no. So let me. I lost my train of thought. But I wanted to get to the schedule anyway. But so like, yeah, it's like I get it. Best season. It got me to be like back into it. It feels great to be back. It's like, but once again, I still find myself defending Clemson, and I don't want to with these fans, right? It's like Clemson got in. Clemson didn't deserve to get in. They didn't get a blame Miami is what I kept saying over and over again. Sorry, Big Rat, but it's true. I wasn't saying that to you. I was saying it to them.
It's true. It is true. Blame Miami.
And they agreed every time. They agreed, but they they still didn't belong in there. I'm like, they won their conference. Oh, well, they still shouldn't belong. Okay, so if South Carolina wins their conference with 3 losses because some other body in the SEC choked, you ain't going to be like, they deserve to be in? Okay, then. Now shut up about it, all right? Like, come on. It's not – enjoy the moment. It's a good season. We choked again. We got slaughtered by Ole Miss.
Wait, are those people trying to argue that South Carolina deserved that more than Clemson?
100%. 100%.
All right, Phil, keep going. I don't want to stay on it because I can be on that all day, but keep going.
100%. 100%. And get it. We beat Clemson. And it doesn't, to me, I know, but to me, it hurts the rivalry weekend a little bit. I think it did this year. But guess what? You get 3 losses. Bama, looking at you. Oklahoma losing mother effers. Vandy? You lost to Vandy? Nick Saban rolled over in his sleep and puked 3 times.
Phil is on fire today.
Like, really? Bro, like that. All right, listen. The argument about the defense of SEC, and I'm not going to say this, and we're going to go away from this topic or that part, is the same blindness following that people follow a certain man with the little orange head. Okay? That's all I'm going to say. I said it.
Leave it at that.
Leaving it at that. Okay.
Leaving it at that.
But yeah, so South Carolina had a great season. I'm not even going to go through LSU. I get it. I get all the things you can say about LSU. Sellers did get hurt. There's factors. And the committee, I think, would have factored that in had the 2 losses been a tie thing.
Yeah.
We lost to Bama. Even if we had 2 losses, say we didn't lose to Ole Miss. I'm just going to use that one. Or didn't lose to LSU, if you count that. So we still have 2 losses, and it's still it's up in the air if we make it or not. I'm just glad we were in the conversation, man. I mean, yeah. I'm just glad that when the South Carolina plays, I actually want to be home to watch it. I used to be like, nah, I'll just go.
They're relevant.
Do something. They're relevant.
They're very relevant. Yeah.
Call me whatever. Like it's just like I just haven't been interested, man. You got to give me something.
Here's the real question, Phil. Let's get to the meat and potatoes. All right. How do you feel about next season? That's the real question.
I felt great until a coworker of mine, which I assume he follows it more, says the defense is going to be worse.
Correct.
So,
correct.
But if Sellers can score, he could just be a Miami. and choke in the end. I'm just kidding.
Hey, if you guys go 10-2, you'll probably get in. That's like you're allowed to lose twice in the SEC for whatever reason.
True. That's true. That's another argument that you didn't make, Big Rack, and I'll give you props for that. But yeah, I mean, look, I hope next season will be better, and I trust Beamer. I trust Beamer until I can't trust him anymore.
They're going to grow. That offense feels like they have another level they can reach. Like all those guys, like Markeem said earlier in the year, they were younger at the skill position players, and they're just going to improve and get better.
You saw they got better during the season. It did. Like, it happened during the season.
And you could tell, like Nick Harbor wasn't even like he doesn't play every play because he's just like he's still learning. He's that young, he's that fresh. Like I understand Ohio State's got an amazing rookie receiver or freshman, so I get it. But
they were like a better team than Bama. Unfortunately, because they lost, even though they lost at Bama in an incredibly close game. If the game was in South Carolina, it would have been different. Because they lost, they couldn't go above Bama in the committee's rankings. But they were like, if you just watch the games, they were like a better team by the end of the year than Alabama was.
One team was going this way, the other one was going that.
Yeah, and we might get to that like when we talked about the playoffs. So I'll wait for that. But I do have something to say about Kirk Herbstreit. I don't know if I should say it now or.
No, we'll get
to the playoffs. All right, well, segue to Coastal.
Yeah.
I'll just leave. That's enough about South Carolina. I've talked enough about them. Bottom line with Coastal is, man, we sucked, and coming into the bowl, and this is when they took my heart away, man. And it's not their fault, man. It's not their fault. Well, first of all, can I say fuck Jamie Chadwell? I just got to get that out there. Everybody will know why I said that. Liberty, and Ethan's in the chat. He's gonna hate me for saying that, but it's true. The reason why I say that is because Grayson McCall he left. He took a better job. Lateral move. And Grayson McCall, if at best, lateral move. Grayson McCall left, then transferred. This is before last year. Went to NC State, and you could just tell it kind of sucked a lot out.
From the
Tim Beck's second year, technically, I think I'm making me missing some facts there, but yeah. Anyways, and the bottom line is Coastal's in the Sun Belt, and you're going to take Sun Belt team. We lost our number one cornerback, McDoom. He Cincinnati, I think. So I'm interested to watch him at Cincinnati. I'm going to root for him because I don't blame guys like that. I blame guys like Ethan Vasco, quarterback, little punk, number one starter, if you can call that, who transferred to damn Liberty. Like, okay, have fun rotting in L.
Jesus Christ.
Sorry. I hate Liberty, man. I
mean, you're supposed to. You're supposed to. So
I hate Liberty. Like people talk about Clemson. Whatever. They won national championships. I mean, what am I gonna do? But fuck Liberty. Sorry, language. But anyways, what I was saying was another quarterback transferred as well. We lost two. I don't know where Noah Kim went to. And I mean, you got your third. I think he was a red shirt because I think they can start bowl games. Third string red shirt quarterback. And I had no desire to go to that Myrtle Beach Bowl. And it's right down the street. It's 45 minutes away. Not even that. Ethan can vouch for me. Like, I mean, it's just, why am I going to go? I felt bad for the team. I mean, support team. I am Chance for life. CINO, Coastal is number one. All that. But it's just tough. So we'll see. What expectation for Coastal next year? The bottom of the barrel. I have no idea. Transfer. Can they get transfers? Can they get JUCO? Can they get, like, people that are lower than them, D1 or whatever? I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
There you go. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead. Set fire to the program.
I am so embarrassed. I feel like there's not much to talk about here, and that's the annoying thing. Well, actually, there is. I lied. There's shit to talk about. So, Brent Pry is a sucker. Tyler Bowen is a bitch. Why are they not?
All bets are off tonight.
Okay. Did y'all know that Virginia Tech was 0-5 in one-score games this season? 0-5, and they finished 6-6. Could you imagine if we won 3 of those games? If we won 2 of those games? I was wrong coming into the season because I thought we did not have the talent to compete. That's what I thought. When the problem is that we have the worst in-game coaching staff in all of the country. Brent Pry is the worst time management guy in the whole country. And Tyler Bowen, because he calls the offensive plays, so I'm calling him out. He calls these games like a bitch. Like if we're up if we're up against a team that is better than us, we need to try to build the score. Stop running the ball and being afraid when we can't run the ball. Middle of the pack in the whole country. We cannot do that. Not to our running backs, at least. We can't do that. So stop doing that. That's what they did. They played scared all season. All season. The only time they showed a bit of guts was against the fucking Canes. That was the only time they played with a little bit of guts. And a lot of that had to do because they were playing against the worst defense on a good team in the whole country. And I want to. I don't want.
The worst by far. The worst by far.
By far.
Yeah.
Okay,
it's pretty bad.
So,
I got you.
let me give y'all a crazy stat that I saw earlier today. Crazy stat because I knew we was gonna do this show. So Bill Connolly of ESPN. Are y'all familiar with him? I'm not the biggest fan of Bill Connolly.
I know who he is. Yeah.
He came up with a metric known as SP plus. Let me explain what that is. It is basically tempo. It basically runs off tempo, and it's like a way you measure a team's efficiency. It's not necessarily who they play. It's not who they beat. It's just how they perform. He took every team in the country. Finished number 20.
Markeem, you're chopping up.
No, we lost Markeem.
Man, right when he was cooking too.
Dang it!
He was literally like cooking, preparing the base.
Oh,
Markeem,
you're good. Yeah, go ahead. Get it out. Get it out.
All right, we missed the whole S. You were about to explain SP plus, and then you started cutting out. So give it another.
Okay, all right. So SP plus is almost like a tempo and efficiency based metric. It's not necessarily who you play. It's not necessarily strength of schedule. It's how you perform when you play in the games. Okay, Virginia Tech in the entire country was number 24, and that team went 6-6. That means we were one of the top 25 teams in terms of just playing the game of football. That lets me know that this is all coaching. That lets me know that the talent was good enough to be a good team, because if you had a 500 record and you're in the top 25 of actually playing the game of football, then that means it is all the coaching. And because of that, the transfer portal has killed us this year. It has killed us, and it is not over yet. So let's just go through some. I ain't gonna go through all of them. We're not gonna talk about the names we got back. We're not gonna talk about all the names we lost. Let's talk about the names that kill us. Okay, you got Chance Fitzgerald. Chance Fitzgerald was one of our highly recruited wide receivers last year, a 4-star recruit. He didn't even play him. Pride didn't even play this dude. He's a 4-star. We struggle in the air, and he didn't even play this man. You know what I mean? But Phil has the heir apparent to the greatest coach to ever coach our team, and he's coaching South Carolina. Like, what is happening, bro? You didn't play this guy.
Yes, ties to South Carolina, to be fair.
I don't care. I don't care. You are Frank Beamer's son. That's crazy.
No,
that's crazy. And
why didn't they hire him?
I don't know. I don't know, Phil. I don't know. It was easy. It was easy. Like, yo,
so easy. A caveman would do it.
Look. I think it's because for some odd reason, the fan base towards the internal Frank Beamer. I never did. I got tired of us coming up a bit short, but like, I didn't want to imagine life without this man. And life without this man has sucked, man. It has sucked so bad. It is so hard to root for this thing. But let me go through these players. So we got it, and I wrote them. Well, I typed them. We got Ishmael Finlater. He didn't play too much for us, right? He was a defensive lineman that left, also in the transfer portal, and we lost 2 other defensive linemen. So there you go. One of our strengths gone. Curtis Perry committed to us 7 months ago, came from Alabama, transferred to us, and was like, I got to get the fuck out of here. In 7 months. 7 months, he said, nah, not doing this. This guy stinks. I'm out of here. Jalen Stroman, our second best corner, gone. He said, nah, I'm out this thing. We got Xavier Chaplin is the biggest loss to me because, good God, our offensive line already sucked. And to me, he was the best one on the team. What we brought back, because I looked at it, what was that, 2 days ago? I looked at it 2 days ago. What we brought back was not good enough, bro. I ain't even gonna go through the names because it doesn't matter. What we brought back is not good enough. These young players and our best offensive linemen leaving shows me right there that they need to get this motherfucker out of there. I thought the Fuente days were bad, but this is worse, bro. This and this is gonna keep going because apparently the fan base wants to let him grow. That's what I've seen online. Well, let him grow. Give him some time. You know what I mean? Just let him grow. The pedigree is there, blah, blah, blah. It takes a couple years before we decide where. No, man, I've seen enough. Get this motherfucker. After I saw that stat, I was like, nah, get this motherfucker out of here, bro. This roster was good enough. I'm getting upset again. This roster was good enough, bro. And I was wrong because I thought they weren't. It was the goddamn coaching, bro. And watching the games, you can see it was the goddamn coaching. I'm done.
Wow.
I mean,
that was, man, like you almost like straight out of Pulp Fiction. Like, he calls games like a bitch. It was just
I thought the way I said stuff was gonna be the bad. He just comes out first statement. He's a bitch. I'm like, damn.
Well, and like, it's a shame because like when you guys lost to Vanderbilt at the start of the year, at the time, and I know coaching fucked that up too, but Vanderbilt also ended up being better than we thought. So maybe it wasn't as bad of a loss as it seemed at the time.
Well, just looking at their schedule, it looked like Virginia Tech actually obviously didn't care except for that one game, but like a lot of their games were close until obviously the bowl game where no one
0-5 in one score games, Phil. 0-5. 0-5, brother.
They did crazy. Not. It was not a Hail Mary against the Canes. Do not listen to Phil. However, I will say,
it was called
definitely,
one, yeah.
Well, definitely I was there, and Virginia Tech was definitely in control of that game for 90% of the game. And as great as Cam Ward is, they shouldn't have stolen it the way they did.
You were at that game?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realize that. That's even worse.
Like didn't they do like a fake? If I remember correctly, they did like a fake field goal attempt on 4th down and didn't get it, and yeah, like just. Management was very, very bad.
Just dumb shit, mismanaging and just being scared being scared too, bro. I cannot do it no more, man. I can't. I may not watch them at all until this motherfucker's gone, bro. I can't do it to myself. I can't do it, bro. I can't.
And I guess like to that point, I'll say this. Obviously, as someone that well, college-wise, I can at some point, like when it's not working, like with college, if the guy's not, it's hard to get invested. Like kind of like what you're saying, like, yeah, show me something, then I'll tune back in. You know what I'm saying?
You got to give me something to cheer for, man. Yeah.
And I think you can do that with college. I mean, you can do it with pros, I guess, technically, if your team's kind of one of those.
The draft makes that more manageable when you watch pro football because you get a guy in the first round, you're like, well, this guy should at least blossom into something, and most of the time they do. You know what I mean? Because just the law of averages, first round guys usually blossom into at least okay players. You watch the development of this guy. If you see your team has talent and they're losing close games and they're blowing leads and they're not finishing games they should win, and they give up horrible plays at the worst possible time, and the time management is bad, and then you have bad roster management, and then you have guys that don't know how to tackle. You got young guys in pressure situations that shouldn't be in those situations, and then you want to blame the guy instead of the fucking coach for putting him in that situation. Well, you had no reason to put him in that situation. Yes, it is hard to cheer for, Phil. You are absolutely right. Jesus, man. Oh, my God. Oh, man. I'm trying to calm down.
This might be his rant of the year. And y'all, if you have not watched, I'll do this to take the time to plug the Blue Man, Once in a Blue Moon. I'm going to butcher the name, but podcast.
The
wrestling.
No Longer Once in a Blue Moon
podcast. It is not on this channel. It is on another channel that I can link it to you if you need it. Don't hesitate to ask. That's probably the easiest way. Aaron's in there. He knows about it. A couple other people, but yeah. So one thing I was going to say about, I think you said something that and I don't remember. I don't want to get you triggered again, but I was trying to think of something that or something made me think of something with that. To add on to that, in the old school way, okay, maybe with recruiting you could have a little more optimism, but how many players did you just name that were like, nah, I'm out? Because they have the power to be able to do that. And it's like, I would invest with coach. If Vasco had started and Bennett and didn't say peace out when it got hard, maybe that's different. Maybe I'm more invested in Coastal to end the year, as far as that goes. I'll always bleed teal, but I mean, it's like that's tough on a fan. Now, Markeem, we might talk about that later, but I do want to ask you at least.
Let's kill some time because the kids going.
Yeah, okay,
let's keep going.
I just want to ask you this. I want to ask you, do you think the current state of the portal should be changed, stays the same, or revert backwards? That's
definitely not revert back for.
Okay,
that's not fair to the players.
No, I agree.
We're not doing that.
Yeah.
We're not doing. But
I don't think you can do that anyway. I don't know why I said it like that.
But as far as I feel like we've given the power to the coaches for so long to play with these guys' lives and careers, because it's been a lot. Like Kid knows, and he's not here right now. A lot of those Canes teams that were struggling and not winning with horrible coaches and things like that, a lot of those guys went high in the draft because they were all talented players. Yet they couldn't necessarily show it because they had incompetent coaching. And I feel like we should not hold these kids hostage because they had to live with, incompetent coaching. Now that's not right. Now, as far as balancing it, we talking about the transfer portal. So kids back, but I want to hit this real quick. So as far as the portal making it harder for the fan and things like that, that's true. But we all have adjusted with the times in every other sport. The NBA, the 3-point shot is taking over the NBA. The NFL, we went from super high-powered passing game, and now we're starting to return back to the running game matter more and things like that. The game just evolves, and the transfer portal is just another thing that's evolving with college sports. And as a fan, you should want that because for years and years, and I was stubborn about this too, we had the original bowl system with the AP poll and all that stuff, and that didn't work. And then because people were like, why do we have 2 national champions? And then we had the BCS system, which I like the fact that they punished you for fucking losing game. I like that, but it did lead itself to teams like teams in the SEC and the big conferences being heavily benefiting from that. We had to change that. Then we had to go to the playoff, and then we realized maybe 4 teams isn't enough because we just end up with 3 SEC teams. Well, not 3 SEC teams, but three conference champions and 2 SEC teams. And it was maybe we need more teams. So we added more teams, and it's led itself to unpredictable. I think the transfer portal has led itself to the parity more than the expanded playoff. And a lot of people complain for the longest time that the same teams win every year. Well, you can't complain about that. You can't complain about that and also complain about the transfer portal because that's why that's not happening. So.
Well, can I add the perfect point I'll add to that? Now, granted, I don't know. Tell me, you guys ought to tell me if you guys have read if it's credible or not. You don't get these. By the way, both teams. Well, one's out now, but both these teams were active when these rumors were going out that Quinn Ewers to get pulled from Texas to go to Oregon. That's that was a legit rumor, correct?
That was legit.
I don't know if it was. I mean, it's tampering technically, so I don't know if they're gonna say it's real. But you don't get that in the old school. So I do like that in a sense. What I don't like is I feel like it's just kind of jumped the shark. So I think it needs to be regulated in some form. I don't know about the portal part, maybe the money part of it. I don't know the answer. If I had the answer, I'll tell you the answer. But
it is tough.
Nick Saban said it. Like Nick Saban said it best. Like I mean, obviously he's
he can kiss my ass.
I know,
because he benefited from not having a transfer portal.
But at least, but respect to him because at least he got out of it, unlike Mr. Cryer over there in Clemson Valley over there. So,
and even he, I saw he took his first.
He's doing it. Yeah, Ethan said it in the chat. Ethan said it in the chat.
It was like Missouri Valley State wide receiver transfers to Clemson. It was like, wow, finally. And I think, two things can be true. It's good for college football. It's helped college football. I do think the portal is helping parity because you're like point blank, Bama, Georgia, Clemson do not dominate the sport like they did 3 or 4 years ago.
No.
Because the whole thing that they used to say that Saban has 5 stars and then the 5 stars backup is also a 5-star.
And Heisman.
Yeah, and like that's why like year over year you would lose guys, but the backups were 5-stars, so you can replace them. Now that backup is like, why the fuck do I have to be a backup? Like I can go be a 5-star for somewhere else and play right away. I don't have to wait until the Bama seniors graduate. You know,
or same thing. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. So like you're seeing it pull down the top teams a little bit closer to the middle, where you do get more parity that way. Now I do agree that having I feel like having home field advantage in a college football playoff game is so massive, and we really saw that in that octafinal
We'll talk
round.
about that. We'll talk.
Yeah, I do think like kind of like you were saying, like the portal might help parity. The playoff system itself might not, because those 4 underseeded teams are basically just going to get blown out every week for the most part, until we see evidence to the contrary, because of the advantage of the home field and the disparity between teams. I feel like 8 was maybe the right number of like teams that matter. And this year's a great example. The 8 seed was Ohio State. And it's like, okay, that team can win the national title. So the top 8 is inclusive of that. Once you get to 9, 10, 11, 12, probably, I mean, I'm sure in our lifetime we'll see one team seeded 9 through 12 that like makes the final, but it might take a little bit before you get to that level. It would require a team. What I like about it most is, yes, we wanted to punish teams for losing, but what I like about it most is now when you have bad luck, it can be forgiven a little bit. In the old system, you would have teams that lose their quarterback for 2 weeks. And maybe they were actually the best team in the country, but they lost those 2 games. And then there was just no conversation. 2 losses was too many. Even in the 4-team playoff era, no 2-loss team ever got in, ever. It was only 1 or 0 loss teams.
Oh,
that's why
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Remember Ohio State that year? Yeah. That might have been the most talented team of all time. And then they around and they lost that game in the Michigan State. And then the bowl game, they blew out Notre Dame. They blew them completely out, like just out of here. And everybody's like, "Oh man, that was actually the best team." Actually, yeah.
Urban Meyer said that too. He said they were a better team than the 2014 team that won it all, and they didn't even make the playoff because of that one stupid Michigan State loss. So I do like. I think this year, if we had a 4-team playoff, I think Notre Dame would have been ranked higher, because it would have mattered, I think, to the committee that Notre Dame only had 1 loss. Now there's a little bit more leeway where it can be like, we can put a 2-loss team like Penn State ahead of Notre Dame, and it's not that big of a deal. Whereas in the past 20 years, like 2 losses was elimination for the most part.
Yeah,
I think. Well, I like that.
Can we stop putting Notre Dame? I mean, they're doing great, but can we stop ranking them so high though? They lost. They have the worst loss in the playoff. Playoff though.
This is a good segue to the playoff game.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a great.
Yes. Because
let's start with that one.
Let's start with Notre Dame, Penn State. Yes.
Yeah.
Because Notre Dame beat Georgia, and now they're in this game. Penn State beat Boise State and SMU, and Notre Dame beat Georgia and Indiana. And now I send it over to Marquis. Notre Dame, Penn State. Notre Dame is favored by 2 points.
Fair, just by the evidence that we have. Fair, right? Notre Dame has got to be aggressive and take shots downfield in this, though. Because the thing they like to do is I understand balance is important, but you're playing a team that stopped the most unstoppable rushing attack. Well, contain the most unstoppable rushing attack that we've seen in 30 years. Longer than that, since Barry Sanders. You know what I mean? But they got to be aggressive. I feel like that they have to make it to the point where we're playing over the top. We're you know what I'm saying, there's no choice. You gotta try and outshoot us pretty much. That's probably the best way to do it. Here's the thing though. I don't know if they have the personnel to do that, because that's how you win. And I know they beat Georgia, and Georgia again, from a talent perspective, one of the most talented teams in the country. But the thing that they had is that they had, a miserable quarterback in Carson Beck, and then a flat out guy that's never started a game before in Gunnar Stockton. So of course, they were able to take advantage of the fact that they couldn't score at all. You know what I mean? So how real are they really? And I want, Phil brought that up, and it seems like every time they beat a really good team, that team is handicapped in some way. You know what I mean? Yeah. The best team they beat, like I said, Georgia, no offense at all. No offense at all. So much so that Georgia fans were calling for fucking a change, even though Kirby Smart just won a national championship. Not that long. But they were mad. You know what I mean? They were mad because of how bad the quarterback play was. No, go ahead, Phil.
No, by the way, about that, I didn't know this about him. I actually read it before the game. Stockton actually broke all of Trevor Lawrence's Georgia high school records, I believe.
Yeah.
He's an insane prospect.
But
that was the first game they put him in.
And I will say this: nobody talked about that lead. Like, it's Georgia. They'll figure it out. Like, not a lot of people said. I said, man, it's his first game starting. If Notre Dame's gonna beat anybody, wouldn't it be them? Like,
yeah, that's trip sack.
They're intact. They have a transfer quarterback from Duke who balled out at Duke, by the way. And he's balling out in Notre Dame. Wouldn't you agree? Like, Riley Leonard is,
of course.
So the running back's great. Actually, look at me knowing college football this year. Look at this. But I mean, I'm just saying. I can't remember the running back's name.
I know everybody brings up like James
Notre Dame
Franklin.
running back. I can't think of his name.
Jeremiah Love. Jeremiah Love.
There you go. But everybody brings up James Franklin and like how he fumbles big games, but I think his run defense will like make the difference here, and I think it'll come down to what's that boy name? Drew Allen. Yeah. I think it'll come down to him converting third downs and third and long, and I think he'll just convert one more, one or two more, and then the other. You know what I'm saying? So I think it'll just be ugly, but they win in an ugly game.
You have Penn State winning.
21-17 Penn State in an ugly ass game.
I have a similar score. I think that Penn State's being a little underrated here because Notre Dame, they're going to get more credit for beating what version of Georgia we saw than Penn State is for beating Boise State, even though Boise State put up a hell of a fight in that game. Boise State missed 2 field goals too. Like, that game could have been closer. Unfortunately, they just made critical mistakes. So I think that Notre Dame, the logic is great defense, great running back, a quarterback who makes timely plays. Penn State's kind of similar to that, but arguably a little bit better in some of those areas, not all, but their run defense.
I think their skills play. I didn't say I think their skill players are better, just flat out better.
Yeah. And Aller. So I hated watching Aller last year, not this year, the prior year. But he was young, he was still learning, and this year, like, he's playing a lot better. I saw a stat that he has like 1 or 0 turnover-worthy plays under pressure, charted by PFF this year, which is crazy for like a 21-year-old player.
Crazy. That's insane.
Benjamin Albright said that if he declares, he apparently said he's coming back.
I'm glad you said this because I wanted to say this. Go ahead.
Yes, he said that if he declares, he could possibly go ahead of Shedeur and Cam Ward because he's got like he's younger than those guys are, and what we've seen is not necessarily what he will become. Even though he's done some good things, they think he could be even better than this because he's only 21 years old. It's not like when Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix came out as like 23-year-olds, and maybe that's why they were ready to play right away. But imagine Aller like 2 years from now, not just the version you see right now. And so I think they have a little bit more skill talent. I trust Aller a little bit more than Riley Leonard to make plays because Riley Leonard in that Georgia game only had 90 passing yards. He made a ton of plays with his legs, and that's how you have to move the ball in Georgia because they usually contain running backs, but they don't contain running quarterbacks the same way. And Leonard, I think, had like 6 carries for 85 yards, something crazy. I just trust Aller a little bit more to make a key play on like a 3rd and long than I would Leonard for that reason. So I got Penn State also. Shockingly, I mean, sometimes it's just luck of the bracket. Like, I wouldn't have expected this a few weeks ago, but here we are. This was their path.
Yep. I mean, do I sweep the board? You know how that does it on game day. I mean, YouTube take back in the day, by the way. Remember I said never would trust Notre Dame in a title game ever again. but this is the game before the title game. So I do maybe, and I saw them what they did against Georgia. But to me, I watched that or most of that game. And it's like, once again, don't watch box scores, watch the game. And it's like, I think I like what I saw from Notre Dame. I don't like that they're favored in this game, though. I have to go. I think I have to go Penn State. I think, like you said, you brought up my Drew Aller point that I was going to bring up. And I mean, I think, well, he can do his. We'll talk. I mean,
they favored him because of the data, though. Like, you had to favor.
Yeah, they like Penn State's lost twice. Like, at Penn State, notoriously, the joke is big game James. Like, it makes sense.
And look! If he loses this game, I would not be surprised. Not be surprised.
Especially if he loses it, like he blows a timeout at the inopportune time, and then they don't manage the 2-minute warning very well. And Like they go for a fourth down, they shouldn't go
or they leave too much time on the clock for Notre Dame. Yeah, man. Yeah, man.
I'll say that. All right, did y'all have a score prediction for that, or you didn't?
I said 21-17.
I'll say 24-20 Penn State.
I'm gonna go. I don't know. We'll go 20. I'll do 24-21. Overtime win for.
Just beat my score by like 1 point for no reason.
I'm dirty like that, man. When they miss the extra point, when they miss the extra point, you're gonna be like, sucker.
I told you.
I will funny. Before we go to Ohio State, Texas. I just want to give a shout out to Al Golden, Canes legend.
Canes legend.
Al Golden. Oh,
we are. God. Whenever the Notre Dame defense makes any plays, there's a group of Canes fans that like because the camera's always going to Golden on the sideline, and Canes fans are like that's our guy, that's our boy. We hated his guts.
Y'all got it. Y'all fired before he even made it back home.
Yes. And this game is in the Orange Bowl in Hard Rock Stadium.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Are you going?
Nah, I can't. My friend is going though. My friend offered me tickets, but I got
insane.
Not as bad as you might think. And apparently that's been a theme that throughout the college football playoff. Like I know in the octafinal round, like that thing about Tennessee buying all those seats in Ohio State Stadium. Like I can imagine it's tough because if you're a college football fan and you're trying to like decide, it's hard to travel for like 3 or 4 playoff games. So you probably but you also your team can get eliminated at any point. So you don't really know. Like, do I save for the national title game? Do I go to semifinal, etc.? But yeah, no, the pricing's not that bad. But my friend got a ticket through work, and I just can't go. But
side note, me and Curtis, shout out to Curtis, passed the stadium, and I didn't realize how big that thing looks because I haven't been since Sun Life, so like I know that it's now been changed. That's the same stadium, they just redid it, right?
Yeah. It's remodeled. The Dolphins.
It's nice. It's nice. I'll give you all that.
The Dolphins are a great franchise at everything except building a football team. Like everything else, they do great. They do.
The Canes play all their home games there, correct?
Yes, they do. Okay. They will never build a stadium in Coral Gables ever, because it is a very wealthy community with very strict rules. It's very elderly. They have a lot of influence in local politics. It's impossible to get anything passed. The Canes putting lights in their practice facility was like a 2-year fight, like with the city council.
Why don't they just move this university then?
You can't really do that. No,
the university.
The university is massive.
Move the school.
All right. Listen, this is a little coastal mindset. Okay, I didn't see because coastal's running out of real estate. Like there's nowhere to build.
Existed like 100 years.
Over 100. Yeah, it's massive.
I mean,
Phil.
I thought all bets were off. But
they have so much land. You can't just pack it up and move.
I'm used to coastal. I'm used to coastal who has no room but a graveyard across the street.
We will transition from that insanity to the insanity of this next game with Ohio State and Texas. Ohio State is a 6-point favorite. Ohio State beat Oregon and Tennessee. Texas beat Clemson and barely survived against Arizona State. The game is taking place on Friday. And the interesting thing about this game, Matt Miller, NFL draft scout, he mentioned that in the Penn State Notre Dame game, there's like 3 players from Penn State and 3 players from Notre Dame that have draft prospects that rank in his top 90 or top 100. Mm-hmm. This game has 11 players from Ohio State, 10 players from Texas are in his top 90 draft eligible prospects. These are NFL rosters, and it was bought and paid for. Both schools, heavy NIL funding from both of them. And Ohio State's best player isn't even eligible to be drafted for another 2 years. Yeah, true freshman.
He is unreal.
Jeremiah Smith was deciding between Miami and Ohio State. And there's local, behind-the-scenes info that I have from people connected to the Canes. Jeremiah Smith called Cam Ward and asked Cam Ward if he was coming to Miami. Because at the time, Cam Ward had declared for the NFL. We did not know yet if he was going to pull his name out of the draft, come to Miami. Cam Ward told him he wasn't sure. Jeremiah Smith picked Ohio State. Cam Ward ends up changing his mind and coming to Miami a few weeks later. Had Cam Ward...
Imagine.
Yeah. Where did Ward come from?
Yeah, they'd have.
Where did Ward come from?
Washington State.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
They'd have gone to the national championship even with this defense if you put Jeremiah Smith on that offense. Like,
oh yeah,
like,
how the hell do you stop this? How the hell do you? Yeah, man,
it's impossible. So this should be a very interesting game. I'll go first. I'll let Marquise go after. I've been going back and forth with this. My general opinion is I think Texas is being a little underrated on the spread. I understand that Texas almost lost. They damn near 4th and 13 in overtime, one play away from being eliminated.
That was the
matchup. Don't forget about the targeting that they didn't get called on because they're not a big school.
I thought that was more 50-50. Like, but I mean, I probably would have called it, but I thought it was closer. But anyways,
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
But if roles were reversed, that would have been called.
That's called. That's my
point. Of course,
okay.
absolutely.
All right.
No doubt. Texas is going to get that.
Thank you, Marquise. Thank you.
So I think I like Texas. Yes, they almost lost. Arizona State's a damn good team. They were 11-2. Like they're 10-2. Yeah, 11-2. They're a very talented team. There's no shame in that. They had one of the Cam Scatterbo was 5th in Heisman voting behind Hunter, Genty, Dylan Gabriel, Cam. 5th was Scatterbo. So they had a Heisman level player and he was dominant in that game. There's no shame in that. And Texas's defense is notoriously elite. I believe they are first in college football in not allowing big plays, explosive passing plays in particular, which is obviously very relevant when you're playing against Jeremiah Smith and Egbuka and all these. Yeah, I could be wrong on that, but and that was true. I think towards the end of the season, that might have changed with the Clemson and Arizona State performances. Might have changed that.
That's why I'm checking.
Yes, fair enough. Because obviously Clemson and Arizona State were getting big passing plays off in both those games. Granted, one of them was from a running back, but nonetheless. So I think Texas is being a little underrated because I think these two rosters are similar. Ohio State looked incredible against Tennessee and against Oregon. No other way to say it. They looked flat out dominant in both of those games. Oregon's defense was leaking a little bit of water as the year went on. They obviously had a bad game against Boise State earlier in the year, but they also got lit up by Penn State in the Big Ten title game. Their offense was just a little bit better.
You're right, kid. You're right. It's still them. It's still them.
So I thought Oregon's defense was leaking water. It was getting worse as the year went along. So Ohio State just exploding on them isn't that surprising to me. And I think that, yes, they probably deservedly should be the favorites to win it all at this point. But I do think, I do wonder, are we putting too much weight in the last two games? I know they're the two most important games in the data set, but are we putting too much weight in those two games versus what we saw in the regular season where they were still great, but they almost lost to Penn State. They did lose to Michigan. I have questions because I think for all of yours' problems, I probably trust him a little more than Will Howard. I understand that Will Howard's been great lately, and the receivers at Ohio State are definitely better. Texas has some first-round guys themselves at receiver too. It's not like they're a slouch in that department. I'm going to probably pick Ohio State, but I think Texas covers this game. I think they're not giving enough credit for the fact that they might have the second best roster right now of all the 4 teams that are left. So I'm going to pick Ohio State in a close one, 30-27, and I'll hand it over to Marquise.
This game comes down to two things. Ohio State looks ridiculous, man. When they bring their A game, yes. They seem like the best team in the country, far and away, hands down. Seems like since that Michigan game, they have been pissed. Ryan, I gotta give that foolish props. From Ryan Day has done a good job in the last 2 games, pretty much keeping his foot on the gas and feeding the beast that is Jeremiah Smith. If he goes off, it is game over, game set match. There's nothing they can do. And it might get ugly. It may get ugly if he goes off. You know what I mean? Here's the thing, though. And I think this is what will happen. Pressure, Will Howard. Because if he gets afraid and he just can't sit back there and scan the field and hit his guy mainly, Jeremiah Smith. If you don't give him enough time to hit him deep, because, in open space, Smith's good too, but not as much as he is as a deep threat. You know what I mean? So if you keep his throw, it's going to sound weird, but if you keep his throwing distance shorter than, 20, 30 yards here and there, you know what I mean? Instead of him just hitting everybody over the top the way he's been doing the past few games, if you make him just eat underneath, or at least attempt to eat underneath and hit him and rattle him and make him scared to take shots, Texas has a chance. And I think Quinn will make just enough plays and they win by exactly 1 point. I think it's going to be 31-30. What's called Texas.
Wow. I'm rooting for Texas. I would love to see that. I think they got a fun team.
I want Texas to lose for the SEC reasons, but I actually want Texas to win for other reasons.
Against them, but fuck y'all. But
fuck it. It'll be one of those things. As soon as the clock hits 0 and Ohio State wins, I'll be going ham on Twitter. So follow me on Twitter. Or the Discord most likely. But it would be
beautiful if not a single SEC team made the championship.
I'll say that. Can I make a bold prediction? Because I feel like I kind of all right. So I said we didn't do the show yet, but some people can vouch for me. I can't remember if I put it out in the ether, but I did tell people I had Clemson as the most likely team to get an upset against Texas. Now in the first round, so of the matchups, because I mean if you look at them, I mean that was the closest matchup. So, well, outside of Indiana, Notre Dame,
Indiana got buried. Indiana got buried, and they lost by less than Georgia did against Notre Dame. I just want that on the damn record.
But Big Rat, Kirk Herbert Street said we've got to start picking the teams that we can't just gift wrap the 11. But I'm not talking about Bama. He got so butthurt. Look at his Twitter. He got so butthurt. I love Kirk Herbert Street.
I will go one step further. They lost to Ohio State by less than Tennessee and Oregon did. And yes, I will say they were more competitive with Ohio State than Tennessee was because they had an early lead in that game, and the game was somewhat close at halftime. So, yeah.
Tennessee, were they even there? Bro, I turned games off that first weekend. That one, I was already late to the party before I even started the game. Like,
I saw that coming. I definitely saw that coming.
And all right. So, anyways, back on track. Then the Arizona State game. Granted, 17-0, but I said, listen, I said it for both games. I said Boise State and Arizona State kind of got screwed by getting the bye. You can make an argument that Oregon did, but Oregon was number one. I'm sorry.
Well, Arizona. Look, if Arizona State does not get that bye, that game
they win. They win in round one. I don't know who they play, but they win in round one.
They were rolling, man.
Scatterboo put that damn team on his back. I mean that. Let me tell you, that arrogant ass Arizona State coach. Well, at least that's how I felt like he acted. I was like, God, I had to root for you. He was just hard. I don't know. Something about him's hard to like until Scatterbo said, fuck this. And I got it.
He's young. Hey, remember, Dillingham's only,
I understand.
He's only
younger
34.
than me. He probably is. He's 34. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. I'm 30. Yeah, 36. So yeah. Anyways, that being said, I'm gonna go with Ohio State winning by 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
Okay.
And this is I get Markeem made me want to go back, but this Ohio State team looks hot, and they have won 42-17, 41-20, and now they're favored
by 6. Yeah.
The only way they win, I will say this, and I was going to reference this. I thought about it. The only way they win is if, well, I don't even know if this is the way they win, but they're going to have to do this the entire 4 quarters. The beginning of the Penn State-Ohio State game, Will Howard, if you don't remember, Penn State was up 10-0 because Will Howard threw a pick 6.
Threw a pick 6, yeah.
They were down 10-0. Who won that game?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. As long as it's not Michigan, Ohio State finds heart. So I'm just saying, I think this gets away from Texas, and I think you see Archie Manning come in, or Arch Manning, sorry. And I don't know. Does he win it for him?
You think they're going to throw in Arch Manning?
Why would they not?
In the college football playoff?
Let me tell you, out of Will Howard and Ewers, you're going to tell me who's played worse in the playoff.
Oh, Quinn, definitely.
Okay, all right.
Man, I feel.
But he would.
Has he come in at all? Has he come in at all?
Yeah.
During
the season.
Playoffs?
No, playoffs. Yeah, I'm talking about playoffs.
No, he has not.
Yeah, okay,
he has not. Okay. Now, if you're having a game where
why would you save that? I guess is my point. Like they're probably saving that.
Ewers would have to be responsible for why they're getting blown out, like throwing pick 6s. Like he would have to have a hand in it. I think if they're just going 3 and out, and Ohio State is like doing that thing where they like put up 20 points in the first quarter, that wouldn't be Ewers' fault. And I don't see the logic in let's try this Hail Mary and throw the kid in. I think you only throw the kid in if Ewers is like throwing up on himself.
Is that horrible, man? Oh my God,
the Georgia game. Yeah.
Hey, listen, hey, you know it'd be cool though. You know it'd be cool. I'm not rooting for anything, but what if something happened where like Quinn went down and then they threw an Arch Manning and he won this game?
Yeah,
like
a movie. Do you think
like a fucking movie?
Markeem, do you think like Tua? Yeah. Do you think I don't even know if you would know. Do you think he's the best prospect, Manning, or no?
What do you mean?
For the future?
So at this moment in his career versus at the moment Eli and at the moment Peyton.
Oh no.
Okay.
Peyton,
no, I don't.
Well, Manning was a different animal, brother.
I know that, but I didn't. I mean, I was young when Peyton was like in college, so
Peyton was in that.
I will say Eli Manning looked like he was going to be like elite too, and I would say just in terms of ability, he's better than Eli. Like he's better than Eli. Just
let Jared hear you say that.
I mean, he is on the
day. And so before before we do some very, 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 very quick NFL stuff, it won't take nearly as long as the college football stuff did. So currently we have an Ohio State Penn State final or a Texas Penn State final. I'm of the opinion, and I'm assuming you guys agree, the winner of this game will beat whoever comes out of the other side. Does anyone disagree with that?
Yeah, I think it's Texas or Ohio State.
I think so, but hey, man, stranger things have happened.
Hey, this is what I want to say.
But look, all 4 of these teams have looked amazing at points this season, and all 4 of these teams have looked bad at points in this season. So
Texas looked horrible going into the playoffs, in my opinion, amongst all the top teams.
No, you're right. You're right.
And they have looked flawless. Well, not flawless, but almost flawless so far. So Ohio State has looked totally opposite than they did against Michigan.
I think specifically if Texas were to play Notre Dame, I think maybe that's a case where the other side of the bracket might pull off the upset. Because I just can't trust James Franklin in the national championship game. Like regardless,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
I just can't do it.
I'll say this. I kind of want it to be Texas Notre Dame. I didn't predict that, but that would be winner gets. Texas has won Vince Young was the last time, right?
Yeah.
And then Notre Dame. When was the last time for Notre Dame?
Ooh,
anybody know?
Was
I alive? Was I alive?
Tim Brown?
88.
Oh,
88.
I think it was 88.
Tim Brown was on
maybe.
That team, right?
I think Tim Brown was
on that. Look it up. It's not that important.
I will.
It's been a long time.
To me, that should be college football's best case scenario. Worst case scenario for them, even though it's still going to make them money, would be a Big Ten championship, basically. 10-10.
I think Ohio State is likely going to blow out one of those teams. Especially Notre Dame. Unless the defense is playing lights out, I just don't trust Riley Leonard's passing game to keep up with what Ohio State is going to do in that game.
What is that secondary going to do with Jeremiah Smith?
That's what I was going to ask about Texas. Who's going to stop?
Well, because Texas at least has their safety.
Right,
Barrett.
They have a good defense.
The safety won the Thorpe Award for the best defensive back. Yeah. Notice the guy who won the fucking Heisman for being a cornerback wasn't even nominated for the goddamn award. Another reason why this shit was stupid. Barron's a great safety. I want him for the Dolphins because the Dolphins have the worst safety room in the NFL. But yeah, Texas' thing is they get pressure with their front and they don't allow explosive plays. That's a pretty good combo if you want to battle against Ohio State. But we'll see. So that's our predictions for the playoff. The Notre Dame Penn State game is tomorrow. The Texas Ohio State game is on Friday. I'm excited. Both those games.
What a weekend! Is this the best weekend in football history? Maybe not
history.
Have we ever had? Well, first of all, we had the greatest regular season finale ever, and then we got a dud because the Vikings are the Vikings. But I mean, before the game, that the most hype you could ever be for a Sunday night winner takes all. And then leading into this.
Well, I think what Phil's trying to say is that it's 5 consecutive days of high leverage
high stakes football. That's true.
Yes.
Win or go home. Win or go home football.
It's the most loaded weekend in football history from that perspective. I can't say it's the best because the
NFL maybe not bad. Okay, all right.
How good are some of these wild card games going to even be?
We'll get to it.
Let's talk about them. Go ahead, kid.
All right. Well, first,
Bill. Go ahead.
Wait. Okay. Fine. Okay. Phil, you have 2 minutes. I'm looking at the clock. It's 1:09. You have until 1:11 to give your rant on the Patriots.
Oh my God! I have 2-minute drill.
Yes, 2-minute drill. Fire, and we'll start once I'm done talking. Firing Gerard Mayo and bringing in Drake May, and you can go whenever.
Okay, Markeem. Oh, okay. I thought he was going to say something. All right. Should Gerard Mayo have been fired? I don't know. They did it. We're done. We're moving on. Gerard Mayo was not ready. But Kraft took ownership. Thank you, Kraft. Watch the conference if you care at all, the press conference. He took ownership. He said he was set up to fail, but the last 3 years' drafts have been terrible. Kind of making a little nod at Bill there. but he was right. Name a player besides Drake. This draft is still up for grabs. People getting rid of or giving up on Jalen Polk is one thing. Okay, like come on, man. Like the kid just needs help. All right, Ben Johnson could help him. I mean, can we agree on that? Right? Like I want Ben Johnson for coach. I think he's the best candidate. I think it's probably still leaning towards Vrabel, unless you ask Danny. Danny thinks Vrabel's going to the Jets. That's what I asked him before the show, and he thinks that we're getting Ben Johnson. But I'm not going to waste time on that. As far as the season of the Patriots, it was something I've never experienced before. I'll be honest right here, sitting right at this, look, this is why during the times when we during the drought of never winning it at all, and Big Rat making sure I remember it every year, to finally winning 3 more and getting to see Tom win a 4th, even though not with us. I mean, a 4th since then.
1 minute.
1 minute? Okay. Oh, God. This is hard. All right. I'm doing good. All right. But anyways, okay. You're really putting the pressure. No, but it's good, though. It's fine. So, yeah. So, anyways, new thing, new experience as a fan. So, I did not want us. I was not rooting for us to lose. I don't care. The 1st and 4th round picks only bring extra capital. Don't tell me losing on purpose does anything. Joe Milton looked like awesome. Come give us Miami. You need a backup. Trade a 1st round for him. Or 3rd round, whatever. I mean, you've seen dumber things. I mean, or do you want that or do you want Mike White? I mean, okay, all right.
20 seconds.
All right, 20 seconds. All right, that's it. I don't know what else to say. Patriots, moving on. I'm more optimistic going into the next season. Sorry.
I do think it's going to be Vrabel, by the way. I think Danny just wants Vrabel to pick the Jets. I mean, just my opinion. Like,
but they are interviewing Ben. So.
Kraft doesn't fire Gerard Mayo's a one and done unless he kind of knows that Vrabel would prefer to come here, because apparently Vrabel would bring back Josh McDaniels too. I don't love that. That's one of my things in sports. I don't like it when guys like go back to the past and get like coaches that were there from before.
One more thing about that. Like that's the thing. Like, and I've seen, and most people have agreed. Like, people are getting on the coach search. I'm like, bro, there wasn't even a search last time, so that was problem number 1. But this time they're actually interviewing. They did now. Ethan in the chat said it. They interviewed Brian Leftwich, but they did that because of the Rooney Rule. He probably walked into the door and walked right back out. Actually, I think they were virtual calls, which is not fair. That's not right either, but whatever. Allegedly, that's the truth or what's coming out. But, yeah, so, I mean, anyways, so I think that do your due diligence and make sure it's Vrabel, but why can't we just move on from – he's not Belichick. He's not coach-wise. He doesn't have coaching ties to Belichick. But he does have player ties, but Josh McDaniels would. So if you're going to bring in Vrabel, please don't let it be Josh McDaniels. That's all I ask.
You want it to be somebody that's not.
I want Ben Johnson. I will say that on this show. Ben Johnson is the Mike McDaniels of this year's free agency of head coaching. Right? Would you agree? Like he's that high.
At this point, you just feel like, look, the Belichick era is over. That's
End it. Kraft, it didn't work with your handpicked guy. Like interview and also. One more thing. The Kraft should not be picking that guy. Elliott Wolf, pick your coach. Like Kraft, you can be in on it or whatever, but you're not. Don't be Jerry Jones. You don't act like Jerry Jones. You don't answer questions like Jerry Jones. So don't be in that process except for like overseeing it.
Correct. All right, kid. Games.
Yep. All right, let's go. We're going to speak. So I'm going to do the AFC in kind of one block, and then we can spend a little bit more time on the NFC games. But the AFC games, I just don't think are that interesting this year. We have the Bills against the Broncos. The Bills is the 2 seed. We have the Ravens and the Steelers. The Ravens is the 3 seed. We have the Texans and the Chargers. The Texans is the 4 seed. The Bills and the Ravens are both like over 8-point favorites. Like the Bills are 8.5. The Ravens are 9.5. Yep. I don't think either game is that interesting to talk about, and this is why. Quarterbacks. This is a stat that I love that I've been using for years. Quarterbacks are terrible in their first playoff start. This has always been true. Like what C.J. Stroud did last year was the exception, not the rule. And that game had the benefit of 2 Joe Flacco pick sixes in the second half of that game. Usually, quarterbacks are bad in their first playoff game, which is why, and we'll talk about it on the NFC side too, are Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix good players? Yes. Could they surprise me? And maybe the rule is changing as the NFL changes, because we saw the example with Stroud last year? Maybe. As a default, I'm just going to ride on like 30 years of football history that quarterbacks making their first playoff start are bad. So I think the Bills are going to wipe out the Broncos. I think the Bucs are going to beat the Commanders. And we'll get to that game in a second. So I don't think there's anything that interesting in the Bills-Broncos game because I think that's an overwhelming fatal flaw that I need to see evidence to the contrary. Now, And the Ravens Steelers games, yes, it's a division game. Yes, anything can happen. That's football. They can play. You can talk yourself into it. Could be a grimy, ugly, multi-turnover game, multi-sack game from both quarterbacks, and it's like a 5-point game in the second half. Like, absolutely, I could see something like that. But the Steelers ultimately winning the game, I think, is too hard to fathom. It's on the road. They've lost 4 straight games. The Ravens have the best DVOA in the NFL. They have the number 1 offensive DVOA and the number 6 defensive DVOA. This defense has gotten a lot better. It's not the same defense that was giving up big. Yeah, like remember midseason when the defense was like 30th in passing? It's not like that anymore. They put Kyle Hamilton exclusively as free safety. I was reading from The Athletic. He was before, the chessboard all over the field and the slot and the box, and then they would get burned. And finally, the Ravens are like, no. None of these other safeties can handle this. You're the best safety in football. We're just going to put you back there as an exclusive free safety to make sure we don't give up explosive plays anymore. And it's worked. They don't give up bombs through the air anymore. And even if they were to, George Pickens, with how he's looked the last 2 weeks, is he really going to have a 100-yard game in this game? I don't think so. And if he doesn't, the Steelers don't have enough offense to win football games against good teams. So those 2 games, you guys can comment on either of those 2 games if you want. I just don't think they're all that interesting. I think the Ravens and the Bills are both going to win. Whether or not they cover, to me, isn't that relevant, but I think they're both going to win. Anyone have anything to the contrary to say on those 2 games?
Okay.
Not at all.
Only thing I'll say is I think, 2 things. I agree. I think the Bills murder the Broncos, and I say murder, but just win handily.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Murder in the sense of, okay, good, congratulations, you got here. Well, here's Josh Allen.
Might be a murder, though.
It could be. It could get out of hand. But with Sean Payton, I would hope maybe he keeps it containing. But I will say something. If the old Broncos defense from earlier in the year shows up and they send it and Sean Payton has a good strategy on Josh Allen, this could be a game where they squeak out the win. It could be. Not saying it would. So, I still have the Bills winning the game.
Listen, if Josh Allen and them lose to this Broncos team, it would be like Dirk Nowitzki losing to the Portland Trail Blazers. It would be just like that. Like it would be the Warriors. My bad, the Warriors. The Warriors beating Dirk. That's what this shit would be.
And I will say this too: NFL, we've seen crazier things, but I'm just saying, if that was to happen and the Bills were to lose, that narrative of their window closing goes to the moon. It's not true, but.
And the other problem is the 7th seed has only won once since it was introduced in 2021. It was the Packers last year against the Cowboys. And I think the Cowboys, for obvious reasons, were more fragile in their position than the Bills. Yeah, the Cowboys, they couldn't defend the run to end the season. The Packers were running all over them. Yeah.
I will also say this. I'm always going to toot this horn. Resting starters always somehow does not do well for the team that has to play a team that had to play to win. Not all the case. I don't know the stats to back it up, but I do know I remember picking the Titans to beat the Ravens.
I do remember this. Yeah.
And they won because I said they sat for 2 weeks on their little ass and they got cold. So that Josh Allen did not get to play against New England. So I want to see, are they going to be cold? That's all I'm saying. I have the Bills. Other name, Ravens are going to slaughter the Steelers, have a great eat snacks, whatever. But Justin Fields should start. He won't, but he should.
Yeah, I think, whether, I don't know, it's probably similar, whether it's Russ or Fields at this point, but I will admit Russ has played worse the last few weeks.
Or start Russell Wilson Tomlin, and then the second he throws a pick, you just call it.
And Chargers, Texans, I don't have that much to say on this. I don't think the Chargers should be favored. I understand the Texans have looked god-awful the last month of the season, and they've looked like the fraud playoff team that everyone's just going to take out, but they are at home. Their defense is legit. The Texans' defense is 3rd in overall DVOA. The Texans' defense embarrassed Tua when the Dolphins played them. Josh Allen was 9 for 30 against them when the Bills played at Houston. Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions against the Texans' defense. I understand the Chargers just lit up the Raiders and the Patriots. That doesn't mean that much to me. My Dolphins lit up the
Raiders and the Patriots, bro.
Yes.
That Chargers game, all that did was get Mayo fired. That's
yeah, both coaches got fired.
By the way, beginning of that game, whatever. I'm not gonna.
But yeah, so the point is my Dolphins did that too. That didn't mean my Dolphins were all of a sudden a great team. They did the same thing. They slaughtered both of those teams back-to-back weeks. So I just don't put too much stock into that. And I think the Texans defense is being slept on here. This defense has terrorized opposing quarterbacks, especially in Houston. Not Lamar, but what do you want? Like, that's
not Lamar or Patrick Mahomes. I mean, what?
Yeah, like,
come on.
Sorry, like, sorry. I'll
join the club.
Yes. Like Josh Allen, Tua, and Jared Goff all having their worst games of the year against this Texans defense. I think this defense is feisty. I think the Chargers are limited on offense. I think it's going to be a field goal game either way. I don't really have a strong read. I would personally favor the home team, but I think both these teams are kind of flawed, and I think we're overreacting a little bit to the Chargers' last 2 games and the Texans getting murdered on Christmas Day in front of Beyonce. That I think that's causing us to overcorrect on this line.
What a terrible game.
Yeah. How do you get killed while the biggest star in the history of your state is there watching you fucking play?
And she's from Houston, isn't she?
Yeah, she's from Houston.
Go ahead, Marcus.
No, go ahead, Phil. What you about to say?
The one thing I was going to say about Houston, and I'm not trying to toot my horn a lot, but when I'm right, is the second year. People always forget this. The second year for the quarterback, they always digress because guess what? Yeah. The teams know them. They figured them out. Not that they suck. I'm not saying that CJ Stroud sucks. They have CJ Stroud. They didn't know anything. First of all, they didn't think he was going to be the best quarterback going out. They thought it was going to be Bryce Young. So maybe they spent more time. I don't know. Whatever.
Fools.
The point is,
all of them fools. But go ahead.
I mean,
fools.
But we got winning the game.
But I got the Texans. I got the Texans losing the game. I think the Chargers win because I just don't. I trust Harbaugh in this situation. This is his first playoff game.
That's true.
I trust Harbaugh, and I will say this: I actually think this game is going to be pound the rock both sides. You're going to just battle it back and forth, and then it's going to be the quarterback that has to win it. And I believe Herbert has played better than Ladd McConkey. There's your MVP. I'm calling it. I mean, should have been a Patriot, but go ahead.
Man, this motherfucker Jim Harbaugh. I don't know how he keeps doing this. Right? He just always ends up in the right situation. Like. He knows when to get out and then go to the right. He does it every time. But
I didn't think he could do it, but he proved me wrong.
He was like, oh man, that Justin Herbert guy is pretty good. I know he fucks up sometimes, but
talented. He's like, what? Guy, I just got to go there and do my basic stuff, and I can get to the playoffs. Sure.
Yeah, and I get to.
That's Harbaugh. I mean, that's kind of how he acts.
It's an annoying guy. But with that being said, I think the Chargers are gonna win. Like Kid said about the Texans. That defense is pretty great, man. We're talking about, Josh Allen MVP, and he had a horrific game against them. You know what I mean? So yeah, man. I think the Chargers win in the worst game of the whole fucking. Oh, wow. Like it might be close, but it's gonna be hard to watch.
Yeah, because if it's one run, everybody's gonna be like, "This game's so boring.
This game's terrible." Yeah.
So. And now going to the NFC side, I want to get the Bucs Commanders one out of the way because I don't want to repeat myself. Same thing. Daniels has been awesome. Daniels is one of the best rookie quarterbacks I've ever seen. Like, he's playing great. Bucs defense does kind of struggle with mobile quarterbacks, but ultimately, first playoff start, I'm just going to fade you every single time. Like, that's just what the data says. And the Bucs, quietly, I think people kind of picked up on it the last few weeks, but I think all year, they were kind of one of the better teams in the NFC. They beat the Lions. They beat the Eagles. Sure, they lost to the Falcons twice. But other than that, they have a pretty good resume. They destroyed the Commanders in week 1. Obviously, it'll probably be closer now that the Commanders team is more developed as the season has gone along. But this Bucs offense, they might have the best or the second best offensive line in football behind the Eagles and the Lions. Like, the line is that good. Not a coincidence. Those are the top 3 seeds in the NFC. Like Tristan Wirfs, they moved him to left tackle, and he's been a monster. He's been a Pro Bowl again. Yeah. He's going to be first team All-Pro. Baker is like one of the least pressured quarterbacks in football. I don't think this Washington D-line is going to do enough to change that. So I think the Bucs are going to win. I'm just going to fade a guy in their first playoff start. I don't think this will get ugly like the Bills game might. I'm not saying that one will, but the potential for it to get ugly is definitely higher than that one than this one. But I just got the Bucs winning. I'm going to fade someone in their first start. That's simple. That's all I got to say. Anyone have anything else to add on this game?
Yeah, I do. Well, 2 things. One thing I'll say about Jaden Daniels and Washington.
Picking the Commanders. You're about to pick the Commanders, aren't you?
Hold up. There's some special stuff that's happened this year. The Hail Mary was unreal to watch, man. Unreal to watch.
Okay.
Hold on. I get the rookie quarterback stuff. Their defense is trash.
He's about to do it.
No, hold on. But let me tell you, Jaden Daniels, Scary Terry, like they just, I can't not. I gotta pick a homer. I gotta do something. Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield. This game is, I think, going to steal Wild Card Weekend, and it's going to be a shootout. And who's going to win that shootout? Will it be the rookie, or will it be Baker effing Mayfield? It's gonna be Jaden effing Daniels. The Commanders are upsetting. They're going to Tampa Bay. I'm sorry, Ethan. He's gonna kill me for this. They're going to upset the Bucks. The Washington Commanders are gonna win their first ever playoff game with Jaden Daniels.
You know what, kid? I saw his face when you were talking. I was like, this motherfucker's about to.
Yes. You could read the body language as the take was coming, and like you could just feel like it on the tip of his tongue. I assume.
But I think the Bucks cover, which makes it a really close game. So, but that
the Bucks are favored.
Yeah, so if the Commanders win, they give 3 points.
If the Commanders win, the Bucks can't cover. They are favored in the game.
That's right. I forgot. Fuck the spread. No, fuck the spread. I don't care.
All right, fine. Marquise, you said you're with me.
With that being said, I gotta go with the kid, man. It's just too much data, and like as good as Daniels has been, he's been good. Like I saw him against us, he's pretty fantastic. But
the Bucks corners are terrible.
It's still, man. Like it's still he's a kid. Like, he's a kid. He's a kid, and even if he wins, he's going to struggle. Like you know what I mean, and him struggling against a veteran team that's well coached. Like I gotta go with the Bucks, man. I gotta go with the Bucks. I don't think they'll kill him though. I don't think they'll kill him.
And that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that won the division back-to-back years after.
Oh my god!
Whereas
next game,
the Denver Broncos
next. That was great. I cut you off right when you said the Denver Broncos.
But it took them 10 years to get to the playoffs without Peyton Manning. Anyways, next game.
Oh, my God. He's got to do it. All right, I did jab a couple times Miami. All right, he can jab me a little bit. I'll bleed a little bit. It's okay.
To be fair, though, I mean, look who runs the Bucks. Look who runs the Broncos.
I am aware, but nonetheless.
It's false equivalency, man.
And first of all, F the Broncos for sitting Tim Tebow for that old-ass Peyton.
Oh, okay, all right. Now let's move on. Let's move on.
That's what we had to fit in. Oh, my God.
I'm kidding.
Vikings, Rams. Vikings, Rams. We'll save the Eagles for last. I'm going to pick the Vikings. I think the Vikings, they won 14 games. Like, this is one of the 5 best teams in the NFL by every metric. They damn near got the 1 seed. And I think the Rams are a good team. I don't think the Rams are a great team. I know the Rams beat them earlier in the year. That was Thursday Night Football. Throw it out. Especially like a week 6 Thursday Night Football game. Throw it out. Doesn't mean anything. Like not when we get this late in the year. I think that Matt Stafford, I looked this up per PFF. This would probably surprise people. The worst quarterback, according to PFF, under pressure is Matthew Stafford. It's not like these bad quarterbacks that you would expect.
I didn't know
like
that.
Gardner Minshew.
You were saying that in the big debate in the Discord. I remember that now. Yeah, you did say
yes.
That.
Like
or somebody pulled it up.
He has the lowest PFF grade under pressure of any quarterback in the NFL. And Brian Flores is going to bring the heat. Now, sure, some blitzes Stafford may be able to see coming with his like veteran IQ and get rid of the ball, obviously, much like how you could never blitz Brady or Peyton, even if they were statues back there. However, despite that, I think the problem is going to be that the Vikings edge rushers, Danielle Hunter and Andrew Van Ginkel, Dolphins legend, they're both Pro Bowlers. They're both 10 sack.
Motherfucker. This motherfucker.
They're both 10 sack players. So I think even if the blitzes don't get home, I think those guys might be able to get home on their own anyways. So for that reason, I think Stafford's going to be under pressure. I think he's going to make mistakes. I think the Vikings are just a better team. My Dolphins, which cannot beat Super Bowl caliber teams, beat this Rams team on the road. That's how you know that this Rams team is not – they're good. They're good. They're nice. They won the division. That's cute. That's it. You lose this weekend, and we move on.
That's cute. What's the winning division matter for them? They don't even get a home game.
Yeah, that's cute. And that's the other thing. The Vikings fans, like Rams fans, have been saying that the Stafford has had to use the silent count this year, multiple home games.
Yeah, I watched the one game. Yeah.
So there's going to be plenty of Vikings fans in that building. The Vikings fans. Like the Vikings organization apparently bought like 2,000 seats for the Lions game.
I didn't know that.
So,
wow.
Yeah, so for this game, it'll be even easier. So yeah, Vikings, I don't have much more to add. Vikings are going to win. Anyone disagree? Anyone think the Rams are going to win? Not this bullshit. I can see them keeping it close. I know that. No. But actually
I got Vikings. Yeah.
I think it's weird, though, how like people are so quick to pick the Rams in this game. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
Jared.
I mean,
and Darnold
The Vikings won 14 games. Like, what are we doing?
And it's like what we talked about, where you kind of overrate the most recent week. Like, that was Darnold's worst game of the year on Sunday Night Football, but he doesn't play like that every week. Like, it's not fair to assume that that's just going to be what it is moving forward. He's had a good year. He's maybe
what a story that is, right? Yeah. Like, yeah, man. Yeah.
And last game.
Okay. Well, one little small note about Sam Darnold.
Sure.
Can we wait till he fails before we automatically assume this is an anomaly? Like, there are cases where, like, maybe he's.
We're talking about it next year. Go to the next game.
All right. Eagles versus Packers. Hurts officially did come back to practice. He's going to play.
I'm kidding.
Jordan Love.
Marquinhos is the most hating fan I've ever met.
Well, Hurts is a limited quarterback, but nonetheless, like, it doesn't matter. They have the best offensive line. They have the best running back. In my opinion,
they have the best roster in the whole league.
Like, they have the best roster. The Eagles are a fascinating test case where they have the best roster of any team in the NFL, but you don't trust the quarterback and you don't trust the head coach. Like, how bad is that? Like, can you get away with a quarterback head coach that you don't trust in today's NFL? I think the closest example is like Brian Billick and Trent Dilfer on the 2000 Ravens. Is probably the only other example I can think of.
This ain't the 2000 Ravens.
Yes. So I'm a notorious Eagles hater. Mainly, I'm just a Hurts hater. I think the guy's overrated. I think the guy has elite help, and it hides some of his problems. Just like how Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are playing a lot better on much better rosters than when they were on Cleveland and the Jets, I think the reverse is true for Hurts. I think if you put Hurts on the Raiders, I think it would be bad. I think it would be actively bad if he was like on a team like that. I'm not saying
anybody on the Raiders, they'd be bad.
I am aware of this, Phil, but like, why is they're 12th in offensive DVOA? 12th. Why isn't this a top 5 passing offense when you have the best pass protection and the second best receiver duo in the NFL behind only probably Chase and Higgins? And
I'll tell you why. Because he sucks. I'll tell you, I've been saying this since we drafted him, since we started him. When we went to the Super Bowl, I was like, yo, if you look at all these games, he scores all these points in the first half and does nothing in the second half. Now it's like the inverse. He does nothing in the first half and scores all his points in the second half. This guy is the most overrated player in the NFL. Like, I think it's like, I thought it was Joe Burrow. I've kind of softened on that because he's been great this year. But it's this dude, man. It's this dude. He's barely even like I think let me be fair. I think he's solid, bro. I just think he gets put in conversations he shouldn't be in. It's just that simple. We're gonna win. We're gonna win this week. Okay, cool, whatever. We're not gonna win what we should win with the roster that we have in the fucking. We should be in the Super Bowl, and I promise you that's not happening. I promise you that's not happening. Guarantee you. Promise you that. But yeah, we're gonna win. We're gonna win. But
you want to Phil, who do you got? Phil, what?
I got the Eagles winning, and I actually think it's not gonna really be close. But
I think I'm going to predict the Packers, and
Packers did get hurt. Packers did get hurt, by the way. Jordan Love and the other guy got carted off.
Yes, I understand, but Love's going to play. Like, it's fine. I understand Christian Watson. Yes, that's a big loss. That's a big loss for like the rest of the playoffs. But what is Christian Watson best at? Those deep shots. What does a Vic Fangio defense never, ever, ever allow? Like a 50-yard bomb out of nowhere. I mean, I know he did in the first Packers game, ironically enough, but that was week 1. It was in Brazil. The defense wasn't the defense yet, if you catch my drift. So I'm going to pick the Packers outright. Remember, the Packers last year were the 7th seed. They went into Dallas. They beat Dallas. I understand the Packers pass rush is horrible. Like, that's what Packers fans always complain about. Sam Darnold lit them up because they get no pass rush whatsoever. Now, you can take that one of two ways. The Eagles have the best pass protection in the NFL. And then you have to understand the fact that, yes, the receivers missed like 2 games. What the hell is this? Like, A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith together only missed 1 game. So I don't know why Curtis is saying that. God bless him. And by the way, Curtis, against the Panthers, he had a terrible passing performance against the worst pass defense in the NFL with both of those guys healthy.
And then we have enough data. Like, he's always been this. Like, he's been this guy where he is is hot and he looks amazing, and then it's almost like he's streaky, bro. Like I'm not saying I don't want to be. I know I'm being hyperbolic when I say
you are.
sucks.
Yeah, you are. I think that's why he's reacting that way.
When I say he sucks, he's just in conversations he does not belong in.
You don't think he's top 5?
Fine,
top 10. Top 10.
Top 10.
I don't know. I would say no.
I don't know about that.
I don't know.
I don't understand.
Curtis, I'm aware, brother.
Yeah. He's talking about the Big Rat though. Big Rat's claiming they didn't miss him.
This is the only NFL team I watch every week.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, I'm telling you.
The only one he watches. It's the only one he's watches. To be fair, he's an Eagles fan.
Hey, okay. I'm sorry. I don't want to tolerate this anymore. When my quarterback misses games for the Dolphins, they're 4-11 the last 4 years. This year, their offense completely falls apart. You guys have not had Hurts for 3 games, and the offense is averaging like 31 points per game. Like that's not normal. No other team in the NFL can do that. You guys can because your roster is that good. And it drove me crazy like last year and the year before when the Dolphins, the Eagles, and the Bengals were always compared because of how good the receivers were. The Dolphins have a terrible offensive line. You guys have the best. Not one of the best, not top 5, not one of the top 3, the best offensive line. 3 fucking guys made the Pro Bowl, and everyone thought Jordan Mailata not making it was a snub. And you have the literal best running back in football this year. This is a loaded roster. I'm sorry, you guys are.
But why is that Hurts' fault though? Is what I think.
It's not his fault. No, but here's my point. Here's my point.
No. What Kid is saying is that nothing changes when he misses. Hardly anything changes. That's what the kid.
And look, and here's my other point. They are 14th in passing DVOA. 14th with all that fucking talent in the passing game. Why is this team not throwing for it's not just because Saquon's been running a lot, because Derrick Henry has had like an 1,800-yard rushing season, and Lamar concurrently is having the best passing season of his career. So I don't want to hear it. This team is 14th in passing DVOA, which is an efficiency metric. It doesn't just care about volume. It cares about on a play-to-play basis. 14th, below the Arizona.
You were wrong about that, though. You were wrong about that.
What?
Read his last comment. You were wrong. That's what he's hyping on.
I can't see the comment.
Oh, sorry. He said you just said the top guys missed 2 games when it's almost 20 everything.
Just click the button, Phil. Just click the button.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
When it's almost 20, are you talking for their careers? I'm talking about this year. They both only missed that Bucs game. That's the only game they both missed.
I think he's talking about this year. I don't know that you guys.
How can they miss?
How can
they miss 20 games?
Yeah.
How can they miss 20 games in a 17-game season?
He's not. I don't think that's what it's 20.
I think he means in general, which is true.
Yeah,
which is true.
He's not talking lying. In general. He's talking about in general.
Yeah. He's not lying, but
all right. 14th in passing DVOA behind the Arizona.
We're going way off. We're going way. You stop me. We're going way off.
We are.
No, because it's interesting. It's an interesting conversation.
I just want to point out that the Arizona Cardinals have a more efficient passing offense than the Philadelphia Eagles. Again, not volume, not we're up by 2 touchdowns. We're not throwing it in the fourth quarter. That's why his passing numbers are low. No, this is an efficiency play-by-play metric. The Arizona Cardinals have a better passing game than the Philadelphia Eagles do. How the fuck is that possible? And it's not like Kyler Murray is a top 5 quarterback. How is that possible with all the talent that Philly has?
I don't know. That's my question.
Just a straight at Kyler Murray. He didn't even do nothing.
But I told you, it's not a volume stat. It's not a volume stat. It's not a volume stat. It doesn't matter.
I don't know. He watches the Eagles. I mean, I had to watch a lot of my, so I can't. I have to lean towards him.
All right. Well, okay. I am going to say that the Packers, I think, are going to win this game outright. And I think that this is a team you can trust in this situation because they just did it last year. The Packers just did it last year where they went in as the 7th seed and they pulled off an upset. I think the Packers, their losses, before they lost to the Bears, and Jordan Love didn't play in the second half, before they lost to the Bears, 4 of their 5 losses were to the Lions and Vikings and Eagles. They only lose to the teams that win 14-plus games. That's a pretty good resume. I think they're a good team. I think that they can't get pressure. I don't think that matters because Philly's O-line prevents anybody from getting pressure. Hurts creates pressure for himself. That's another knock on him. The offensive line, despite being elite, Hurts is like
Jalen Hurts.
God damn it, kid. You
might hate Jalen Hurts more than Tom Brady. I'm starting to think.
I hate guys
like that meme with Stewie from Family Guy. Where's my money, Brian? That's you.
Listen.
He's coming back when the Eagles win, right? You know he's coming back. Curtis doesn't run away.
I am merely pointing out that their O-line, despite everyone agreeing it's number one, despite them all the offensive linemen making the Pro Bowl and all that stuff, Hurts still gets a lot of pressure that PFF charts as self-created because that dude freaks out in a clean pocket and runs into pressure that doesn't exist. And then he'll have games where he gets like sacked 5 times, even though the O-line played great. And it's like, because you created it for yourself by being undisciplined in the lanes as you were trying to manage the rush. So I think the Packers are going to win. I will say right now, I'm not going to do this every week. I think Philly would beat the Rams. I think Philly would beat the Bucs in a rematch. I'm not going to pick against Philly every week. I promise you. I just genuinely believe the Packers are closer to that Lions-Vikings category than we think. And I think for that reason, they're being undervalued in this game, especially with the injuries. I think they're going to win. And if Philly wins, I will pick them next week. Promise you.
Okay, that's fair. All right, I'll forgive you a little bit after that. All right.
And we've gone way over time.
Yeah. Hey, could we have it any other way? I mean, under an hour, guys. 2 hours later. It's usually always that. But if we got it under 2 hours, I'll think that doesn't win.
Listen, it's been fun. It's been a great time. And I like, honestly, like I didn't mind going long just because like there's just an energy when we do these shows that are so much fun. We talked about we talked about this offline. It's not going to be something we do every week or even every other week. But with the timing of the playoff games and all the football that's going on this weekend, it just seemed like a good time to come back up. Maybe this is something we do 3 times a year, maybe less, maybe more. Kind of depends on how we're feeling about it. But we had a lot of fun, and I'm really happy we did this, and I'm happy that for anyone else who watched along and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, the chemistry I have with these two fellas here, man. Like I know people watch our other show. And they'd be like, man, you and Josh, like, you know, me and Truth Slayer. And we do, because me and Josh are very similar. But like these two, I don't know, these two bring the passion out of me like no one else. So I'm always, you know, whenever y'all want to do this, I'll make it happen. Doesn't matter.
That's why I reached out, man. It's 2025, man. We gotta start strong.
And it's a good time. Like with all the games coming up, it made sense.
One thing I want to say at the end is are we going to come back before the Super Bowl, or do we need to make a quick Super Bowl prediction and leave it?
I feel like we should, right?
Okay, we'll come back. We'll come back then. We won't we just do the first round.
Yeah, maybe like before the Super Bowl, and then it could also include like comments on what ended up happening in the college football playoffs.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's let it linger for a little bit. Let people, you know, attack us on Twitter or whatever. But all right, yeah.
And with that, thank you all for coming. And until next time, this was YouTube Take. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.